Hello, I'm Don Moores, and welcome to Montgomery Week in Review. The House of Delegates has rewritten the bill concerning alcohol sales in Montgomery County. Brian Karem, the executive editor of the Sentinel News Service, has the story. The Board of Education has announced the name of our new Montgomery County Superintendent of Schools. His name is Jack Smith. Fred Evans, who comments on this program on a regular basis, will give us the details. The Montgomery County Department of Recreation has created the 100-Mile Challenge for people who want to improve their health and fitness. Jeffrey Slavin is enrolled in the first of these programs. He's going to tell us how to get involved. As more people need in-home health care, the issue arises of whether or not they can really trust the home health care provider. Henry Hailstock will share his thoughts on this very, very important subject. Brian Karem, welcome.
How you doing?
So, General Assembly, we've had this liquor thing. I know this has been a big issue that you've been talking about. We're what? There's first in the nation of New Hampshire. Aren't we only in the nation as far as selling alcohol at the county level?
Well, you know, we have a good, nice way of selling alcohol in Montgomery County, and everybody doesn't like it. But nobody can actually decide what it is they want to do to change it. There has been a movement to decentralize it, and there are pub owners who are actually upset with the way it's run in the county, but are willing to accept the way it's run in the county because they feel like it's a bit more of a fair playing field for the smaller pub owners versus the larger pub owners.
Well, exactly. How does it work? Maybe that can set the stage.
Well,
and get into
the county's your drug dealer. The county brings in and takes all the liquor and sells it to everybody who wants it at a uniform price.
Okay.
And there are those who say that we're not allowing, private enterprise and capitalism to work. And the
What's
county
on the other side?
Well, on the other side is the county's making $30 million a year off of it, and they don't want to let go of.
But the county also mentions that they think that it's helped to keep down the bad things
drunk
that come
driving,
with too much and all that.
I think it's cut down on quite a few things, and in that they may be right. One of the ideas behind it originally, and what this law would change, is you could have up to only 5. Liquor licenses. So they were trying to guarantee that the people who ran the small restaurants and the small pubs were in the community, and therefore had an interest in making sure that people weren't buying too much alcohol and going off, rampant and getting drunk and doing, mayhem.
How does the law, who sells the alcohol, control that? I'm not clear on
the licenses. They will
on the drunk driving and the results.
Well, the idea being that if you are a pub owner or a dram shop owner, that you're going to take care to be more involved in your community than you would if you're a large distributor.
Looking
and you don't
after
really care.
people.
That's in the community period, because if you have a party and somebody leaves your home drunk, you're held responsible as well as that person.
Yeah.
So it's
just
a law.
a fine.
It's a law. No, they have a propensity to go to jail depending on the severity.
They can, but they often don't.
There was a case, and you should know about
there's
that.
There's a case in Wooten right now
Yeah.
where there was but that was a little bit different. That was a father who held a party for some underage drinkers.
Yes.
And that is looked at quite differently than.
And
than
how the
people
hell
of
does that
age.
keep going? Jeffrey, you want to talk?
So you're not in favor of the referendum?
I have no opinion on it at all. I'm going to merely report the news. Honestly, I think they have a number of problems they've got to balance. The income from the county has got to be made up somehow. So they're either going to have to they're going to have to increase our taxes or cut services. Ike Leggett is right, or a combination of both. But at the same time, I understand what the dram shop owners are saying. They don't want large companies to come in and overwhelm them by being able to get greater price breaks than they can give and driving them out of business. The people, for example, the Out of the Way Cafe or any other place, that's a small place, it's a restaurant and a pub. They have a very small, very slim profit margin. And if you're going to give great breaks to the large companies, like name any large company, anyone that went out of business even, that is going to get a greater break on their alcohol than them, it affects them. So they have to raise their prices.
I normally don't have opinion on things and everything.
I
But
can't
I
believe that, Henry. I know you better than that.
I have to just say, this whole thing is really, to me, a problem with the county, not the
Yes, it is.
Not really that big business needs to get in. Number one, you have an antiquated system in the warehouse for inventory. No one is willing to basically upgrade it.
They have spent millions trying to upgrade it and have not upgraded it, and it was one of the greatest complaints.
Tell me how they've been doing
They
it.
bought
They
a new system.
They put money into something that they had not experimented with and doing it. Why can
Exactly.
private sector do better in doing that than the county can do it, and they have more leverage to get things done? That's the one thing. They don't train their people properly. It has to be done on a yearly basis. They don't
You're
do that
preaching to the
yearly.
choir there. I mean, the private sector can accomplish things much better than the public sector
So
in
I
this
say
regard,
it's
and in
not
other
really-
regards.
Oh, that's not go there.
Neither one of
Let's
the
not go
bills,
there.
Inventory have to do with anything.
But wait a second, I want to turn that around. We're talking
because
about money
of
here.
the availability of the product.
One of the folks who's on record for having pushed this the most to get rid of the county in the liquor business,
Hans.
and apparently has put a ton of money into the politicians that are pushing this, is a guy named Dave Trone,
Who's now a candidate for office.
Is there a link there?
Well, there are those who say that there is a link between him and, of course, Francho, who is a friend of his, but he's back.
He's gotten a lot of money from the Trone world.
He's backing
Kathleen.
Matthews.
But he made that commitment prior to
Before
Trone getting
Trone
into the
getting in,
race. There are those who are making that linkage, absolutely, and there is that issue. The bigger issue, as Henry pointed out, is this is another case of the county mess. We're on TV, so I won't say what they really did, but they're the problem. And the county has not figured out yet how to extricate themselves from the mess that they started, and they're looking to the state to have the state clean up the mess that they began.
Didn't the director, after being in job for 21 years, just resign? Or
Throw his hands up and said, "I've had enough. I can't take any more."
And he was one of Doug Duncan's closest advisors. George was.
Yes.
For George Griffin forever. Listen,
And if you ever go take a visit to that sometime, and just it's amazing to me how they put all of that liquor in a warehouse and have no idea where any of it is.
Well,
But
you know
none
what?
of the bills-
Whoa,
none of
Henry,
the
we got to stop.
bills
We got to
address
stop
that.
right there.
Address it.
It's amazing that we had you again on the show. It's always a great thing, Brian. Thank you.
We
I
have
hope
fun.
You keep gracing us with this. Let's go from liquor to what apparently
now
be.
we talk about a simple topic.
Well, but the superintendent
Not
of
simple.
schools, I'm hearing from you a little bit that maybe the bloom is already off the rose, and the ink isn't really even dry on the press releases.
No, I'm not. I didn't say that.
Well, I'm hearing some things
Well,
coming from
first
some
of all,
his
let's just
past.
talk about him a little bit.
Tell
what
us
I know,
about
I've
this guy.
never
What's the
met
name?
him.
Tell us
His
the
name is
name.
Jack Smith. He was a teacher. He was a middle school principal. He was a central office administrator. Then became superintendent of schools in Calvert County, or Culvert County, if you say it that way.
Can you stop right there for 1
Yes.
second? Your highlights of his bio are exactly touching on the areas that you've talked about in the past about what we need in the next superintendent.
So from that point of view, I think that's good. Now, in terms of whether he can manage, after managing a 15,000 student school system in Southern Maryland, correct? As opposed to a 156,000 student school system, will be
Tenfold.
a key issue. He was for the last 13
With
months.
totally different
He was
demographics.
for the last 13 months the Maryland State Department of Education Ed Secretary. He was interim there because Lillian Lowry, the past person, left and went for another assignment, another job. So he has managed the state in essence, and so he's gotten to view that.
which is 5 times the size
But
of
it's,
Montgomery.
Yeah,
but it's
exactly.
totally different.
But it
to
is
manage
different.
the state.
So
It's a
the
policy
key,
job, right?
the key is going to be how well he gets to know, from my point of view, after being here 45 years, almost 46, how well he gets to know the system and how well he understands the various constituents and the politics of being a superintendent.
That seems to be the key.
That's gigantic.
That was what the
Jerry
last one-
Wiest.
yeah.
Jerry Wiest was here for 12 years, from 1999 to 2011. What he was able to do was understand very clearly the the political system and who
get
to
me
talk to
started
and
with
who
him.
not to
Whoa,
talk
whoa,
to.
whoa, whoa, whoa.
Now let's not
Don't
get
get me
let's
This is
started.
Jack Smith here.
not get started.
Henry.
We're
For
not
you.
going to start anything. And then the last Josh Starr was here for 4 years, and we know what happened there. So the key will be how well he gets to know the constituents and whether he understands the issues that we have in Montgomery.
Before we open this up for folks, give us a prediction. Will he be able to understand based on what you've been able to see?
I don't have a real sense of it. I'm not trying to ignore your question. I don't really have a sense of it. I've talked to folks who've worked with him.
Sure.
And he, from a former colleague of mine who worked with him pretty directly, and said he's a good person. He listens. He gives good advice when you ask him questions. So that's a good sign. And he was chosen unanimously. That doesn't mean anything necessarily, but unanimously
It's
by
the
the
public
school
vote.
board.
It's the
Well,
public vote.
the question that and you brought it up, Jeff, was this is a extremely or very unique school environment, and I mean much more diverse than Southern Maryland. And the problems that Starr had, as far as being able to be a good politician, which he wasn't, came out very quickly. And even though he was able to deal with diversity, he was not able to deal politically. There are two big things that this incoming guy's got to do. And from what we've seen when we've talked to people in Southern Maryland, the big question is, can he make that translation in those two areas?
Transition, yeah.
Yeah.
When does he
translating
start?
it from
I thought-
He
I
starts
thought
July 1.
But is he going to come now and orient himself?
Yes, he has
Is
already
Bowers
started.
gonna-
He has already started. Larry Bowers is the interim, the acting, and he will serve until July 1 officially. And
know-
then he'll come
I know
on. Now
somebody-
he has to be approved, quote, finally approved by the State Department, but
By him.
I know somebody who has
no, by the State
I
Board
know
of
somebody who has some
Education.
questions or has a comment about this, and that's Henry Hailstock. He's just chomping at the bit.
Yeah,
to
tell
talk
Yes,
about
Mr.
this.
Hailstock.
Well, I won't say I'm chomping at the bit, but it's just funny how people invest in others because they're the best of what came out, you know, and that's the problem I had. I mean, you had 70 candidates. They whittled it down to a few to interview. They had hopes for one that didn't really pan out in the interviews, and we have Jack Smith. He talks a real good game. I have to get it to him because his, if you want to call it acceptance speech or whatever that he did to the media, sounded great. He hit all of the points. I'm just waiting to see how he's going to do it. Someone that's coming from an environment, to me, is like someone coming from where I used to go to school in Missouri and coming to legislate in Washington, D.C.
Right.
Okay? This area, period, is one that has really diversified over the last 10 years tremendously.
Right.
And I don't think anyone denies that. We've had several
Okay, about 30 seconds.
several superintendents who have not been able to manage it correctly because you have one sector of Montgomery County who are influential and really dictate a lot of things, which happen.
And then the disaffected.
Yes, who don't have that clout.
Let's get Fred a chance.
I can't say that I agree with one section. I think there are many, many different sections that you have to get to know. I have no idea what kind of job he will do, but he's definitely going to have to reach out to a variety of constituencies and
Including Fred Evans and the people who are sitting right here. Fred, thank you. Look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you.
We'll be right back after these messages.
Is it your call, or yours?
Good luck.
And we're back. Jeffrey Slavin, honorable, great mayor of Somerset,
Right.
the probably the single largest metropolis of our Montgomery County.
It is.
The heart and soul of
is.
so much. So
But we're
you're-
also exercise leaders. You know, we are the
wanna
first.
hear about this.
We are the first municipality east of California that got the HEAL designation: healthy eating, active living.
I want to hear
It's
more
on-
about that.
So
Ooh.
that's a different. That's
Well, I wanna
a
hear
different
about the
story.
100-mile
I've talked about it
challenge.
before. Yeah, the 100-mile challenge is a great way to engage our county residents in exercising with prizes and inspiration.
100 miles a day?
No, it's 100 miles between now and April 30th. And the way it works is 20 minutes of exercise, gardening,
Right.
cleaning,
Okay.
actively cleaning. You get 1 mile.
Okay.
40 minutes, you get 2. 60 minutes, you get 3.
So looking at a
it's
mile
very
being
easy.
a
it's very easy.
a
to get
mile every
100.
20 minutes, 3
Yeah.
miles.
Yeah.
So where's your
Okay.
Fitbit?
So where's my fit?
I don't.
Yeah, I got mine.
I'm glad. I hope you all will get
I have-
involved.
I have mine.
Now, this contest, which hundreds of county residents and dogs. You get credit for walk. Your dog is all. My dog is in the contest.
Okay.
And each week there are prizes.
Okay.
And then at the end of the period, around April 30th, there's the Move More Montgomery celebration at the Bauer Community Center, where all the prizes will be given out. You can't get the prizes until you've put in your sheet of 100
Well, you know,
hours.
Bethesda's had this walk and run challenge, Silver Spring. I mean, this is fantastic. Now looking countywide, the Department of Recreation. How
That's
did you
right.
get involved?
I got involved because on the website,
Uh-huh.
the fantastic website.
Can I walk without my dog?
You can walk without your dog. You can walk with your dog.
You mentioned the website. I wanted.
I'll give you a dog.
I guess
3.
the website's coming on now.
It's on.
And what was exciting? What caught you with that website and said, I want to
The
be a part?
The incentive.
The
The
incentive.
incentives, the prizes, yes, because I exercise anyway, but there's weekly prizes for me. Plus
Trip to
to be
Cancun.
involved in, we have a fantastic Department of Recreation that is trying to engage. Are all of you going to join?
Sure, I will join.
I hope you're going to join.
I'll
the
kick your butt.
challenge.
I'll
Yeah.
do that in 20 days. 100 miles. I'll do that in 20
Okay,
days.
That's
great,
what I'm
great.
saying.
I do 5
Great.
miles a day. So
Okay.
that's
There
great.
you go. That's what I do.
Great, and there are going to be more. There are going to be more programs like this upcoming.
Now, Jerry, you're involved with so much. How do you sort of squeeze this in to all the things that you're engaged
It's
in?
very
as a leader in this
important.
county?
It's very important to exercise.
Uh-huh.
It's the only way they
Absolutely.
sleep, eat, exercise is the only way you can achieve all your goals.
And you see, there was a report
And
just came out yesterday that people who exercise actually are smarter.
They have bigger
Smarter.
brains.
So we have really
See,
brainiacs right here.
that's
And you
absolutely
know
right.
why
Yeah, look.
we do so well.
This is why we do what we do.
Yeah, you can't get through the day. You know, if you're having some issues with anything you're working on, if you go into a gym, into a recreation center, or get on the road and walk, it'll make you feel better and you'll forget about.
You won't want to beat up the legislature.
That's
You'll
right.
be too tired.
Right.
Well, talking about legislature, Jeffrey, you've been, you know, in the center and the sidelines and everything else within politics in this county and this country. What do you make of all of this politics? It's crazy, isn't it? Almost every race, almost every level right now.
I'm glad people are engaged, just like they need to be in exercise. They need to get engaged with their
Yeah, I wish they would
community.
vote. They don't.
Yeah,
they
but
get
that's
engaged,
the
but they
big
don't
thing.
vote.
Yeah.
They don't vote.
How does Somerset do in the voting? Are you guys? Does Somerset do very well?
Yes,
What-
participation is very high, 70%.
Wow.
Our precinct.
Can we get back to
70%
exercising?
turnout.
We can.
I'm interested to know these categories. If you plant flowers, you get so many miles and everything. How did that
If
come
you
out?
exercise, when you're
He's
gardening,
calling this kind of a wimpy thing,
gardening-
right?
Yeah, that's.
I
what
don't
the
think it's fair.
Because I have to actually
Gardening
walk.
is-
If you watch grass grow.
If you're forced to exercise and you're doing something you don't like, you won't do it.
Right.
So gardening is exercise.
You're burning a lot of calories.
You know
You really
that.
are.
That's right.
Burning,
Digging,
planting
moving.
flowers.
Well, you're moving
Cutting.
around. You're on your
You're moving
knees. You're doing
around,
everything
you're-
you can.
You're squatting.
I don't know.
Obviously,
I'm
Henry's
really
not a
interested.
gardener.
Oh, yes, I
squatting.
am.
I
I
don't
take
hear
care
it.
of my yard.
You're
The
squatting.
only exercise that I see in gardening is cutting that grass, trimming a tree. Okay? Have you ever gotten on land and tried
you
to
not-
trim a
Yeah,
tree?
that's.
Are you not digging
Okay.
beds?
Climbing
I
on
dig
the
that.
tree is exercise.
Yeah, I know, but
Riding around
on
on a
your
riding
knee,
lawnmower is
on your knee,
not.
taking a
Compare that
digging
to
up.
someone who is a couch potato who sits there eating their Fritos, watching TV all day.
Or riding a lawnmower on a postage
Right,
stamp
yeah,
front
right.
yard.
That's
It's
right.
not
That's
exactly
right. Yeah.
exercise
We want
on
to
it.
encourage people to get out and move. It's all about
I'll go
moving
along with
around,
that.
squatting. Everybody knows now that squatting is
Thank
the
you.
most important.
These
Jeffrey,
guys
can
planting
you-
flowers are not squatting. I
Jeffrey,
can
can
tell
you get the Department of Recreation to contact Mr. Hailstock?
I will.
Well, I think we need an
I'm gonna
education
bring
program.
him,
Bring him to the
to
Bauer.
Give him a couple
Move
exercises
More
with flowers.
Montgomery, and we're going to talk to the
Get him some assistance.
staff person. It's a great program.
Jeffrey, as always, it's a pleasure to have had you on here. And a
Get
great
you some
segue
daffodils.
It's a great segue into the next.
into now the king of daffodils, Henry.
The
Henry.
garden.
You're having too much fun.
We need to get smiles off our face here because we're talking about a very serious issue coming up, and that's the home health care, the in-home health care providers.
Right.
We've had Stuart Rosenstein in here a lot, talking about
That's true.
about the whole idea of the village, and people are coming home and staying in their homes. But a lot of times they need those home health care providers. You're here to say we shouldn't really trust them all, should we?
No, I'm saying being cautious. I'm not saying no, trust them all, because really I'm experiencing that now dealing with my mother-in-law. But let's talk about let's gear up to why we have the healthcare providers. First of all, you know, this society is getting old. Okay, let's face it. You have 10 million people who are relying on some type of health care at home or in residential care, okay, not nursing homes, okay? Now, you also have from 65 and older individuals who are now today 40 million,
Right.
all right? But in 2030, it's projected to be 70 million.
Absolutely.
Right.
Okay? That means that we who are now caring for our parents or, you know, in-laws are eventually going to have to be cared for eventually.
That's right.
So we have a budgeting industry for healthcare.
Sure.
All right, but people don't realize that healthcare providers are not really regulated in some states. Now, and the ones that are regulated, like Maryland is regulated, it's not fully regulated as I would want to say, because a number of them are not really asking the important questions. One, you know, first of all, they are bonded. You know, all of them are bonded to get at home. But do they have the experience?
Sure.
Are they on drugs? Okay. Have they been arrested?
You know what's interesting, Henry?
How do you
there's
check
no
that?
there's no background checks for.
Some do, some don't. That's why, as an individual, I was going to say, you give me 30 seconds, I'm going to say, ask the important questions, you know, to the providers or who's those people coming in your home. That's why I say strangers coming into your home. That's why you need to be cautious about who comes in your home. Sure. You have to be sure of that.
Oh, I understand.
And how can you really check them out? I mean, I look at, for instance, one of the largest groups of individuals who are best able to provide this kind of care are those who have come from societies where the extended family, young or looking after old, coming out of West Africa, coming out of the Caribbean. A lot of folks are in without papers. I don't know how you do background checks on them.
It's difficult.
There are agencies, aren't there agencies that vet these?
In Maryland,
employees?
there are representatives of the state that come in. Like I had one come in today just to check on, you know, the healthcare provider to see if my mother-in-law is still in the same state or getting worse. But
in your point, to take a proactive approach yourself.
You have to.
Yeah.
You have to.
Because a lot of times those vetting, and we go through this all the time when we vet employees or when we're background checking for politicians or sources. Not everything there is accurate.
Exactly.
And you have to take, and before, you know, you got to take the extra effort. And I guess with healthcare, like you said, a stranger in your own home, I hadn't even thought about it.
Even more so.
How did you find the healthcare workers that are helping your mother-in-law?
Well, you know, I'll be honest with you. You know, with the Affordable Care Act, a lot of things changed in the state period, and they moved from headquarters in Baltimore to here in Montgomery County. So we had to work with that transition. It took us a long period of time for that transition. And I can imagine in other states the same thing would hold true. On top of that, they had to make sure they understood the regulations because the Affordable Health Care Act brought in a lot of the regulations that are appropriate. But people don't realize that when President Obama proposed some regulations to upgrade that investigation on healthcare and required them to do certain things, it was knocked down in 2013 because of the lobbying.
Yeah, such a burden to actually know the backgrounds of these individuals.
Yes, it really, yeah, you would think so. But my point is that we, as family members and as community members, as we brought out in the earlier production, is that we need to, you know, do the due diligence, because 1 in 10 American elderly people are being abused, mentally or physically.
Which I think is a low number.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's just the reported ones.
Yes, and that's what they say. Those are the reported ones. Those are the only ones that are
We've got 30
subpoenaed.
seconds. We got 30 seconds left.
And there's crime there.
Yes, ask the important questions, you know, of these people.
Okay. What are they? Why don't you go 1, 2, 3?
Who are they being trained? Which some of them are not. What experiences do you have? Okay. What is the background? How do you do background checks? These are the service
Can
providers.
you ask for a resume?
Yes, you can, but I don't trust resumes because
It's a good place to start.
those who have done resumes elaborate, and you ought to know because you did it in college and everything else too. Okay.
But luckily, Henry Hailstock, you never had to blow up your resume. because you're a great man. You've been a great man forever. Thank you for being here. Thank all of you for being here with me today. And thank you and the viewing audience for being with us for this week's edition of Montgomery Week in Review. I'm Don Moores, inviting you to join us next week at this very same time.
Yeah, I could go on and on.